Ali Bey, where do you think the Islamic banking in Turkey stands vis-à-vis technology?
Thank you, Ms. Somay. Before giving details of Turkish participation banking in general, I would like to give my views on where banking is, what banking is facing nowadays, and get a snapshot on that. Almost all the industries went through disruptive change over the decades. On the other hand, banking was quite rigid towards disruptive changes. Although we're using ATM machines, we are using credit cards, we are using internet banking all the time. This kind of this technology usage is not comparable to disruptive changes happened in other industries like manufacturing, retail, telecom, or IT industries. If you see a picture of a bank branch from 100 years ago, you can recognize that it's a bank branch, and it is very similar to the one we have nowadays. But I think it is time for disruption. Lots of things happening. First of all, mobility, and followed by social media changing everything around the world. And suddenly, the most conservative industry of all times, banking industry, has been challenged by flexible, faster, and innovative small organizations called fintech. So we as banks nowadays know that future will be different, and we learned a lot from fintech revolution. And I think, this is my opinion, unlike most people think, this is not a threat for banking. Rather, it's an opportunity to leverage innovation to improve our customer processes, business processes, customer experience, and profitability. This is my views in general, how banking is standing during nowadays, actually. When we look at the Turkish banking, participation banking in general, your question was about, I think we can divide the entire Turkish participation banking history into two parts. Albaraka Türk is the oldest participation bank in Turkey. It's 32 years old. And we can divide this 30 years into two parts. First 20 years and the last 10 years. In the first 20 years, I think the major agenda item for participation banks was explaining to Turkish society what the Islamic or participation banking is all about. And starting the business, actually. And technology was not in the agenda of, of course we were using technology, but using the latest technology or giving a message based on technology was not the focus of participation banking in the first period. And yes, there was a gap between conventional banking and participation banking in this period. But when we look at the second 10 years, the second period, I think there is a quantum leap. There is a phenomenal difference between these two periods. And participation banking nowadays has state-of-the-art software and hardware infrastructures, well-equipped data centers, full-fledged disaster recovery capabilities, very good size of IT teams, and very good practices for software development. So it has changed a lot from the first period to the second one, and it looks like it will continue. Because we are investing a lot on innovation. Today, yes, there is no gap between conventional banking and participation banking, and research show that we know that Turkish market is one of the leading banking industries around the world, and especially internet banking, mobile banking, and payment systems. And it's a tough, actually, to be a player in this market. As a participation bank, if you're not investing in technology, it's quite difficult to be a player in this competitive market, and where time to market is actually a differentiator. We, as Albaraka Türk, also went through a transformation program in the second period, and we have changed almost everything in our workspace. It was not a transformation program for technology only, but for almost everything in our workspace. The program was called Simurg, taking its name from an ancient story resembling the journey described there. And we have completed the program actually last year and started 5 years ago. Actually, after the program, we almost replaced everything, as I said. I mean, at one night, we switched off the old bank and turned on a new bank. I mean, this is literally true. We replaced the core banking, legacy core banking application with the open architecture-based new one. We replaced HR application, we replaced payment system solution, we replaced channel structure, all the databases, hardware, and software infrastructures, disaster recovery, everything. I mean, at one night we switched everything and turned on a new bank. And this is actually, I mean, we did this investment, but this is also true for all the participation banks. Its innovation is one of our major agenda items, and it will be like that in the coming years as well.
Thank you, Ali Bey. I think we have a thorough picture of where the participation banking stands vis-à-vis innovation from you. From the global scale, let's come back to Turkey and let's listen to the agenda of Turkish Islamic banking sector from Ali Bey.
On macro level, I think we have two important targets as all participation banks. First of all, we would like to embed innovation into our business process improvement activities. Typically in banking, innovation is considered as part of product development activity, but nowadays we're talking about innovating for everything. So everybody is doing plans for that, and as part of our Simurg program, as I mentioned, we are also extended target of doing this in our bank as well. Second, digitalizing. It's been in the agenda for a long time, but with the recent developments, it's more and more possible to digitalize business processes. Algorithmic business is a trend in IT right now, using automated decision-making processes in general in business processes. So, for example, in participation banking, lending process is a little bit more procedural than lending process in conventional banking. So, if you eliminate human interaction in this process, and you can make it much faster and less cumbersome for our customers. On detail, on the branch side, for example, we have a lot of agenda items. In the next 5 to 10 years, we think branch look will be very different from today's branches. There will be mobility, there will be Internet of Things embedded. There will be more machines, and there will be a different style of working for branch workers. What I mean by that, currently in a bank, typically a bank worker is sitting in a workstation in front of a desktop PC, and customers are moving around within the branch to find whoever they need. But in the future branch, we think with mobility, with Internet of Things, the branch worker will use different kind of devices and will be mobile within and outside of the branch. So this means a lot of research is being done for Internet of Things, for different kind of machines beyond ATMs. We are not talking about today's ATMs. And branch size will be much smaller probably compared to today's branch sizes, where we have 3-floor, 4-floor branches in certain districts, and we'll be probably seeing 1 floor and much smaller branches. Mobility is changing a lot of things. One of them is the interfaces. Consider the current banking applications. Currently we are using mouse and keyboard, and we are doing scrolling and typing for using applications. But think about the new generations. They are using gestures like this. We are doing touching. So we have to replace interfaces for core banking, HR, everything. So it's a big, huge activity. And I think it's in the agenda of everyone's for the future. I mean, we are starting actually for core banking. Mm-hmm. We have to replace these interfaces for new kind of devices and new kind of work styles. And just one last thing, payment. Payment is going to be more mobile. I mean, plastic cards will probably disappear, mm-hmm. and mobile payment will prevail in the market. There's been a lot of trials in the last 4 or 5 years, but we did not use device capabilities so far. And first time, I think we are starting to use device capabilities. The phone itself, I mean, phone is supporting mobile payment right now, and it's going to be changing a lot of things in the payment industry as well. As a summary, I think innovation, technology usage has been never been this much important in our participation bank's agenda, mm-hmm. in the entire history of Turkish participation banking.